Anxiety Coach Joni here. Now, whether you are new to the platform or you've been around for a while, I have no doubt you have heard me cue diaphragmatic breathing. And the question that I get from a lot of my clients is why? Why is this so important? So over the next few minutes, I'm going to go through this quick presentation to give you the benefits and talk a little bit about why we don't always use diaphragmatic breathing. So hopefully it can bring some more awareness to your workouts and help you utilize the diaphragm as your main breathing muscle and bring more benefits to you, your pregnancy, postpartum recovery, and your life in general. So here are the benefits of diaphragmatic breathing, training the most important muscle in your body during pregnancy and postpartum. Now, I want to start by just saying this might sound a little bit dramatic, but it is pretty dramatic. Learning to use your diaphragm to the fullest potential is the most significant change you can make to improve your health. Clients come to me with a wide range of aches, pains, and ailments, and I start everyone with diaphragmatic breathing. And this is why. Your diaphragm is your primary respiratory muscle, and it draws oxygen into your body. When you're pregnant, that's oxygen that's also going to the baby as well. And the way that you breathe affects the mechanics of your spine, and it creates a pumping system within the body. If you look at this picture, the diaphragm is that little line or dome right below the lungs. And you'll see the arrow below it on the inhale side. When we inhale, the diaphragm flattens and moves down into the abdominal cavity. If you put your hands on your belly as you breathe in using the diaphragm, you'll feel the belly kind of expand. And then as you breathe out, you'll feel the belly lower because the diaphragm is moving back up underneath the bottom of the ribs, pushing air out of the lungs, and everything that it's previously pushed out of the way, it gets to return. So that's why you feel that rise and fall in your belly. We breathe in, the diaphragm moves down, pushes everything out. We breathe out, the diaphragm moves up, everything moves back in. So it creates this pump, and this pump creates motion and pumps cerebrospinal fluid. It also massages your internal organs because they're getting that movement with every single breath. And we breathe 20 to 22,000 times a day. So that's a lot of massage and motion that your internal organs can get. It also helps with digestion. It moves things through the digestive tract with that motion up and down. And it plays a role in nutrient and waste exchange by aiding in lymph flow. And the other cool thing that it does is that it regulates your pH balance, which has an effect on your hormonal system and your mental, emotional, and cognitive balance, which, as we all know, during pregnancy and postpartum can be a little precarious. So the other thing that happens with this diaphragmatic breath is if you're not breathing with your diaphragm, your body is going to find a way to get oxygen into the body, no matter what. So it creates compensations when the diaphragm is not being used. And if you look at this list of muscles, even if you don't know where they are or you haven't heard of any of these before, let me just tell you, these are the ones that cause aches and pains in a lot of clients that I see. People come to me with, between the shoulder blades being painful, knots around the shoulder blades, pain in the neck, the traps, headaches, lower back pain, the muscles that run down the spine. And that is because when the diaphragm isn't working, all of these muscles are working in overdrive because your body is compensating to get air in by any means possible. So, to take a breath up here, if the diaphragm's not working to draw and suction air into the lowest part of the lungs, that means everything else has to open up and strain to draw air into the thorax. And that's why you get that strain. And again, 20 to 22,000 times a day of breathing like this is going to cause a lot of tension and pain in the upper body. So diaphragmatic breathing is that important. Your body is prepared to do some serious compromising if it's not there to do its job. Now, this isn't your fault if you are a chest breather and not a diaphragmatic breather. Clients will come to me and say, Joni, how have I screwed this up? How have I screwed up breathing in my life? Well, we're going to blame this one on evolution. And this is an important thing to know about the way that you handle stress and the stressors in your life. Your diaphragm plays a major role in this. Your diaphragm has evolved a stress response over millions of years, and any kind of mental, emotional, or physical stress will shut it down. It just stops working. And it does that because our body has two systems, in our nervous system. It's our parasympathetic nervous system and our sympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system is that diaphragm working. It's rest and recovery. It allows your body to optimize recovery, digestion, reproduction. The opposite of that is fight or flight mode, your sympathetic nervous system. That's breathing up here with all of these chest and neck muscles. It is also, that chest breathing also sends a signal to our brain that we need to make a stress hormone. And those stress hormones are cortisol and adrenaline. And those are the hormones that help us run away from predators. And on a chemical level, your body can't tell the difference between I'm being chased by a tiger right now and need to run for my life, or I just got a stressful email from my boss or had a very stressful argument with my partner. Chemically, our bodies respond the same to both of those situations. So, it's natural that our bodies are going to go from this high and low of sympathetic, parasympathetic many, many times throughout the day. But because of the stressors in our lives that evolution hadn't really prepared for, we tend to get stuck in this fight or flight mode for a majority of the time. And because of that, the diaphragm has become weak. We don't know how to tap into it as our main breathing muscle. And all of these muscles have just taken over instead. So we're constantly living in that stressful fight or flight mode. And this leads to major physiological burnout. Now, when you're in the opposite system of your parasympathetic nervous system, you are living more in balance. You have less aches and pains. You alleviate that lower back pain that so many of us complain of. You have better moods. You get a more restful sleep because your body's built to sleep or rest in that parasympathetic phase. You improve your posture because you're not, clenching and holding tension up top. You feel more alert. You're getting more oxygen. You experience better digestion. Like we talked about, that pump system, the diaphragmatic breathing, the parasympathetic system helps turn on digestion. When you're stressed and you're being chased by a tiger or a stressful email, your body shuts down all the systems that it doesn't need. So it's not focusing on reproduction. It's not focusing on digesting that last meal that you had. It shuts down all non-essentials so you can get the heck out of there and save your life. And then you just have better overall health and wellness when you spend more time in that parasympathetic phase versus fight or flight. And during pregnancy, this is even more important. I've just talked about a lot of those benefits, but when you're growing a life, this becomes essential. You're not just breathing optimally, you're also increasing nutrients and decreasing toxins to you and your baby. You're reducing stress to you and your baby. You reduce muscle spasms, cramping, aches, pains. If you get a lot of those Charlie horses or tightening, or you just feel that cramping in your body during pregnancy, practice some diaphragmatic breath. See if that helps alleviate it. You increase your mood. When you're not stressed out all the time, you're a happier person. It also, fun fact, wards off sickness. If you are experiencing a lot of morning or all-day sickness or nausea, diaphragmatic breathing will help alleviate some of that and bring you just more oxygen, a little bit of relief. It reduces feeling short of breath. You've got that pump. Your diaphragm's a muscle, and the more you use it, the stronger it gets. By the end of pregnancy, there's a lot of pressure. You've run out of space to take a deep diaphragmatic breath, and that diaphragm has to work really hard to draw air into the lungs. That's why you feel short of breath. Now, if you've spent your entire pregnancy not using that muscle, it's going to be weak, and then all of your air has to come from that upper chest breath versus your diaphragmatic breath. So, a muscle, if you don't use it, you lose it. You want to strengthen it through your entire pregnancy from, before, even when you're just thinking about becoming pregnant, start to work on this diaphragmatic breathing to get that muscle nice and strong for this journey. this one might be a trigger, but it strengthens you for an easier and less painful labor. Pain being the main trigger word here. And I'll tell you why I kept this in here. Because think of any time in life you have fallen down and hurt yourself. Have you ever heard someone say, like, just take a deep breath, breathe through it? That breath sends you out of fight or flight, out of tension, out of stress, and puts you into a much calmer place where you have more control, you can release, you can let go, all the things that we need for labor and delivery. So it is going to make that whole process seem like you've got more control of the situation, and you're able to do it with more of a meditative approach of breathing through it versus just tensing and bearing down and kind of gritting your teeth through the experience. And then breathing with your diaphragm also helps aid in postpartum recovery, because your diaphragm is the top of your core. It's part of that entire inner core unit that I'm always talking about training. And if you leave out part of your core in your training, you're not going to move correctly. So before you do a squat, before you pick up a weight, or even, your 8-pound baby, clients get back to diaphragmatic breathing in the hospital. I have, my C-section clients, they call me from the hospital. I walk them through breathing before they start to walk the halls, before they roll over to the bassinet. Same thing with a vaginal delivery. You've got to get back into that peaceful breathing state, get your core on so everything can start to reconnect and you can go into recovery mode versus fight or flight. Now, I like to call this the secret to your pregnancy and postpartum recovery, because this is not it's not the only form of exercise you should be doing during this time, but it is your foundation. And we all know that in order to build a nice, strong house, you have to build that foundation first. So breathing is the secret to that strong foundation. So you can incorporate this into the rest of your life, the rest of your workouts, and navigate this entire journey with no pain, less injury, and a lot more energy. So I hope this helps. I want you to keep some of these things in mind as you're going through the workouts on the platform and you hear me talk about diaphragmatic breathing. So now you have an understanding of why I'm constantly talking about it and why it's so important. If you have any questions, reach out to me and I am more than happy to have a chat. But I'll talk to you guys very soon.